Rachel pulled the zipper on her suitcase without even glancing in my direction. The sound was sharp and final, like a door being locked. She told me she simply could not say no to her boss about this specific work trip. It was a big deal for her career, she said. Then she looked at me with a coldness that hurt. She told me that my feelings of worry were honestly getting very tiring for her. As she spoke, she tucked another beautiful dress into her bag, smoothing the fabric with a care she hadn't shown me in a long time. I tried to explain that I wasn't feeling jealous. I was just very confused by what I was seeing. This was supposed to be a simple 2-day meeting to talk about business. Yet, she had packed fancy dresses for parties, very expensive perfume that she usually saved for our anniversaries, and high heels that were far too uncomfortable for a long day of sitting in a conference room. Over the last 6 months, things have felt different at home. She stayed late at the office almost every single week. She would come home and talk constantly about her boss, a man named Michael. She always mentioned how much he trusted her and how she was his right-hand person. Whenever I felt a little brave and asked why they needed to spend so much time alone together, she always had the same sharp answer ready. She would say that he was just her boss and that I needed to stop acting so worried and small. On the morning she left, I looked into her eyes and said very softly that if this trip was truly just for work, then I hoped she had a safe and good flight. She didn't argue. Instead, she looked very relieved. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, grabbed her bags, and walked out of our front door. In her mind, she thought my quiet voice meant I had finally started to believe her lies. But the truth was very different. My silence meant I had simply stopped trying to talk to someone who had already decided that the truth didn't matter. As soon as the taxi carrying her away disappeared from my sight, I sat down on the sofa. I felt very alone. I started thinking about every single excuse she had given me over the past year. When I looked at them all together, they didn't make any sense. I opened my computer and began looking through photos from the company parties. Finally, I found a picture of Michael. He was standing next to his wife, a woman named Emily. They were at a holiday party from a year before. I remembered talking to Emily for a few minutes that night. She seemed like a very kind person. After searching for a little while, I found her page on the internet. I sat there for a long time with my fingers resting on the keys. I didn't want to hurt anyone or break up a family, but I felt that if my wife was not being honest with me, then Emily deserved to know the truth about her husband too. It felt like the right thing to do, human to human. I finally typed out a short, honest message. I told her that I thought we really needed to talk about where our partners were going on this work trip. I sent her the proof I had found on our shared family computer, including the flight details and the hotel room they were sharing. Then I sat in the silence of my house and waited. Emily wrote back in less than 20 minutes. She wasn't angry with me for reaching out. In fact, she was very thankful. She told me that Michael had been acting like a stranger for months. He was always making up reasons to stay away from home, like late meetings or trips that always seemed to include Rachel. We both decided to be very calm and just share the facts we knew. The more we talked, the more obvious it became that this wasn't just about work. They were staying at a very fancy resort together. They flew on the same plane and planned to come home on the same day. Emily took a deep breath over the phone and told me that if they were doing nothing wrong, then we could both go to sleep peacefully. But if they were lying, she would rather know the truth than live another year in a world of make-believe. I felt the same way. Sometimes the most difficult things to say are the things that need to be said the most. We didn't know then that the truth was going to come out much faster than we expected. Later that night, Rachel sent me a photo of herself. She was smiling and looked very happy at the resort. She wrote that she had been in long meetings and was already very tired. She even added a little heart. Just 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Emily. She had actually driven to the resort herself to see what was happening. She sent me a picture she had taken. It showed Rachel and Michael sitting together at a small table with a candle. They were looking at the ocean and holding hands. There were no other people from their office anywhere to be seen. I looked at that picture for a long time. It felt like my heart was breaking, but also like a heavy weight was lifting, because I finally knew for sure. I sent that same picture back to Rachel. I only wrote 2 words, interesting meeting. Right away, I saw the little dots on the screen that show someone is typing. Then they went away. Then my phone started to ring. Rachel called me over and over again. She called 7 times in just a few minutes. I didn't pick up. By the middle of the night, I had 30 missed calls. Rachel wasn't enjoying her trip anymore. The next morning, she sounded very scared in the messages she left. She was crying and saying that it wasn't what it looked like. She said they were just talking. She told me that Emily had shown up and that everything was a mess. Even Michael called me. He wanted me to act like a professional adult so that no one else would find out. I didn't answer him either. Around noon, Emily sent me one last note. She told me she had talked to them both at breakfast. They couldn't lie anymore because she had seen them with her own eyes. She told me she was going home to start her new life. I thanked her for being so brave and for telling me the truth. That was our last talk. I didn't need to look for any more clues. All my worries had turned into facts. I spent the rest of my day talking to a lawyer instead of fighting with Rachel on the phone. By the time her plane landed, I had already made up my mind about our future. Some things hurt too much to fix, especially when the person you love has been planning the lies for a long time. When Rachel walked through the door that night, she didn't look like the confident woman who had left. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. When she saw the neat folder papers on the table, she dropped her bags. She knew exactly what those papers were for. She begged me not to do this. I asked her very quietly if she ever planned on telling me the truth. She couldn't answer me. After a long silence, she admitted that they had been together for 8 months. Every late night and every trip now made sense. She cried and said she thought she could keep her 2 lives separate forever. But lies have a way of catching up to you. Over the next few weeks, her whole world fell apart. Emily ended her marriage right away. The company they worked for found out that Michael was having a relationship with someone he was supposed to be leading at work. Because they used company money for their trips, they both lost their jobs. The people they thought were their friends stopped calling them. Rachel called me every day, asking for a second chance. I eventually met her at a park where we used to be happy. She looked very tired. She told me she had made a mistake. I told her that it was not just one mistake. It was hundreds of small choices to lie every single day. She had no words left to say. I did not tell Emily the truth to be mean or to get even. I did it because I believe everyone deserves to know the reality of their own life. Looking back, I realized our marriage did not end at the resort. It ended the moment she told me my feelings did not matter. She thought being honest was a sign of weakness. In the end, the work trip did not break us. It just showed that we were already broken by secrets and lies. Rachel came home expecting a fight she could win, but she found a husband who had already found peace and walked away. I sat in our kitchen that night and looked at the empty space where her things used to be. The house was so quiet it felt like it was breathing. I realized that trust is like a glass vase. Once you smash it into pieces, you can glue it back together, but the cracks will always show when the light hits it. I wanted a life where the light didn't reveal cracks. I wanted to wake up and not have to wonder if the words I heard were real. I felt sad for Rachel because she had lost so much just for a few moments of excitement. She had lost her home, her job, and her pride. But most of all, she had lost a person who would have done anything for her. I watched the sun go down over the trees in the park, and I felt a strange kind of hope. It was a new beginning. It was a chance to build something based on the truth. Even though it was hard, I knew I had done the right thing by speaking up. Everyone should have the chance to live in the real world, even if the real world is a little bit painful at first. I was finally ready to start my new life.